Hi everyone, welcome to the Psychology of Dating podcast. You're listening to Nadine Newkirk, me. I'm both a clinical psychologist and a dating coach. Today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk you step by step how to do a video date. Before we start, I'd like to put a call out. Whatever podcast hosting site you're on, if it's Spotify, if it's Apple, if it's Google, any of the other ones, if you could please give me a podcast rating. So that could be either clicking on the star rating, writing a review. That really helps to give visibility for the podcast. It's also can be a bit one-sided doing a podcast. You know, I'm making the content, putting it out there, but being able to get some engagement from you, from the listeners, is really helpful. It's really motivating. I read every comment. I look at the star ratings, and it really gives me an extra boost. And it just helps spread the word and helps give this information and spread it to other people all across the globe. So really appreciate any effort in doing a star or a comment. Okay, how to do a video date. First of all, we want to look at why it might be helpful to do a video date. Most dating these days is online, it's using the apps, and trying out a video date can be a really helpful way to reduce dating burnout and help you to quickly get connections and start to see if there's some good matches. So what are some of the benefits of video dating? One, it can reduce your time spent doing those early dates. So if you've done an in-person date, there might be a whole bunch of time spent preparing for it, washing your hair, picking the outfit. There might be the travel time. Maybe you need to travel half an hour to the location. Then you meet the person, and even if it's just for a drink, probably would take at least an hour, maybe more, 2 hours. Travel time home, have a shower when you get home, unwind. Before you know it, that's the whole evening gone. That is very different compared to jumping online, having somewhere, maybe a 20-minute, hour chat with someone and jumping offline. That really can mean that you can do anything else in that night. You can still cook dinner, you could still see a friend, you can live your life around it. And this can be particularly helpful for those connections where you know from the get-go it's just not a good match. Could be for any various reason. Maybe the conversation doesn't flow. Maybe the attraction isn't there. Maybe they were a bit rude. Whatever it is. I've never regretted going on a video date if it wasn't a good connection. The other reason a video date could be helpful is it helps you keep your mind open and explore options that maybe you normally wouldn't. Maybe someone lives a little bit further, and if they were a really great match and you knew that there was something there, you'd be willing to do it. But taking that first step to get to know them, you would have just disregarded it because it feels too hard even to do that first date and travel a distance. If you start with a video date and find a connection, then maybe you can actually start up and meet them in person. Or maybe on the apps, your mind's discounting someone. Maybe their fashion sense didn't look so good in the first photo. Maybe you're not sure about the way that they chat on the apps. And normally you'd be like, I don't know, I've got some other options. I'm just going to skip going on a date with them. If you do a video date, it means you can actually have a few more dates than you normally would and not have that time spent or that burnout that is associated with it. And what happens if you really like the person on a video date? It just means that you're more excited to see them in person, and maybe it feels less of a stressful or kind of doubtful experience going on that first date. How do you go about doing a video date? The first step is to ask the person on a video date. I always recommend be proactive. If you want to get the ball rolling, if you want things to happen, ask them. Don't wait around for them to ask you. And when you're asking, we don't need to wait ages with the chatting. That can actually lead to more fizzling of the connection. So it can just be a few really decent messages where you've got a bit of back and forth. Maybe there's, not just like yes, no answers, but you've got some questions and things in there. You don't need to wait around 2, 3, 4 weeks until you ask someone out. It can be in the first week. Once you've decided to do a video date, you can do a little bit of preparation. So it's just like any other date. If you feel comfortable and confident to talk and being on the screen, then great, jump in and do that. However, if you feel a little bit nervous or apprehensive, it's okay to prepare. It's kind of like going to an interview. Maybe someone's done a whole bunch recently and they don't really need to refresh their dot points. Or maybe, it's a little bit rusty, you want to practice some of your questions, and that's fine. It can be helpful to think of some talking points. Thinking about, for example, 3 topics, interesting news articles, things that you've done recently, questions you've been pondering, something that you're excited about. So it doesn't need to necessarily be something that they love, because you will rack your brain. You don't know this person. Maybe you have a special hobby with cars, with rock climbing, with book clubs, whatever it is that you really enjoy and find interesting and fascinating, you can bring that topic up. And if you speak about it with the enthusiasm and depth that you normally like to think about it, that will be contagious. For example, I love yoga, and I've been to a yoga teacher training in India. I've done yoga classes. I like to do it on YouTube. I like to do it in a center where it's heated. I like to try all different classes around the city or in different countries. Someone else might not be interested in yoga, but that doesn't mean that it won't be interesting for them to listen to me talk about it. If you're feeling afraid about anything on the video date, it's helpful to write down your fears beforehand and then make a cope ahead plan for them. And I've done a separate podcast episode called Cope Ahead Planning. So this is where you step by step figure out what would you do if that worst case situation were to come true. And usually that really helps ease your brain, because it's like you've got a fire safety plan. For example, if you are afraid that you're not going to know how to end the date and you're kind of going to be stuck on the screen forever, you can come up with a plan of a simple sentence or way that you will end the date. One way you can end it is just having something in mind, an activity that you're being doing, so close enough to the truth. Maybe you like to get ready and unwind and read or something before bed, before you work the next day. So once you feel like you've done enough on the video date, you could say, it was really nice chatting with you. I'm going to head off now just so I can unwind before bed. And then you can choose whether or not you would like to continue or not with them. So if you would like to continue, make it obvious that you've enjoyed it. So, I really enjoyed chatting. I'd love to see you again in person if you'd like to as well. And then once the video date is finished, you can follow up, sending them your number if that's the way that you're going to organize to meet up, or sending them a text on the messaging app, following up and saying, it was really nice speaking with you. I'd be happy to meet again another time. And then you can leave it in their court. If you've already organised the first video date, we want that other person to meet you 50-50, to do their part, their effort in the dating. And so then you can leave it up to them to organise the second date. If you are not interested in continuing, it's up to you whether you would like to do it on the video call or not. Either's fine. If it feels too much or too intimidating to do it on the call, you can just end and say, it was really nice to chat to you. I'm going to go now. And afterwards, you might like to send a text message, something simple. It was nice meeting you. For me, I don't see the connection enough to continue, but good luck on your search. Something short, something simple. Of course, anything I say here is just a suggestion, an idea. Take what you want, leave what isn't helpful, turn it into your own words. It's also useful to think about how to set up the actual video date. I can tell you I've done a lot of Zoom sessions ever since COVID in psychology and coaching sessions, and being on the receiving end of setups that aren't so ideal can leave you sometimes feeling seasick. For example, if someone's just holding their phone and it's kind of wobbling up and down as you're talking, that can be really distracting. And don't underestimate if someone's feeling a bit distracted, uneasy, that can take away from the date and actually forming that connection. So having a device, a phone, tablet, laptop that's propped up, that's stable, that's not going to be moving around. Also thinking about the lighting. I've been guilty of this before, where I've started a session when it was dusk and then I forgot to turn the light on and it just slowly got darker and then my face wasn't as visible. Making sure that you've got bright lighting, that your face is visible. and that you're also in a comfortable space where you feel comfortable to talk. Getting ready for a video date, it's okay to be comfortable. You know, you might sit on your bed and do it, but I recommend still getting ready as though you were meeting that person in person to a comfortable level. So you don't need to be getting dressed up for 2 hours. However, if you're still under the doona, you're still in your PJs, that does send a bit of a message that you haven't given a bit of time and space and thought for this date. It doesn't need to be too much, just a little bit, just having some regular clothes on. I remember for my first video date with my now husband, I was sitting on the bed. It was just daytime, wearing regular clothes, but I was drinking a cup of tea and he was sitting on the balcony drinking a beer. So even though it's on video, your personality still comes through. You will still be able to form a connection with someone. If you can talk to a family member, a colleague on the phone, on a video chat, you can do the same with someone dating. Technology is part of this new world that we're in, and it just helps us more quickly connect with people, but remembering that the aim is still to always move to in-person. So if a video date has felt really good, don't keep doing video dates after that. Ask to meet in person, because you get to know someone on different levels, and you can think it like a stepped plan. First of all, you're getting to know them on the app, which is really, you don't know too much. You know some basic information. Maybe there's some deal breakers like kids or things like that on there. Then you use the app to quickly meet someone virtually or in person. If it's virtual, you again get to see them on some level, you know, their shoulders and their face. You get to chat to them. If that's working well, then you get to see how it feels in person. So we always want to step up and get to that in person and not keep delaying and keep going on video. Of course, if you live really far away, maybe for circumstances you might need to do a few video dates, but have that plan to meet in person. Don't just keep delaying it. And one more tip I've just thought of. Some people have asked me, where do I do the video date? Like what type of software or app? And some of the dating apps like Hinge have a function where you can do a video chat in there. Otherwise, you can also use functions like Zoom. They have, I think it's like 45 minutes where you get a free talk. You could use FaceTime or WhatsApp if you felt comfortable sharing your number. It's basically whatever the comfort level is for you, if you already have the device on your laptop or phone. And don't be afraid to ask someone else to download. Again, my now husband, I actually sent him a Zoom link and he didn't have Zoom downloaded, but he downloaded it on his phone, and I gave him extra props for making the effort to download that. Okay, everyone. I hope these tips were helpful. Good luck with testing out the video dates, and I'll speak with you all next week.